Hey guys, and welcome to Top Channel 101. So today we're going to be doing a parametric bridge in Blender, or a procedural bridge in Blender with some parameters that we can animate or change, like the length of the bridge, the width of the bridge, sagging of the bridge, missing planks like that, and everything. So let's jump in and get started. So I'm going to use a curve object so that I can control the length of the bridge like that with these two control points, and we only need two control points. So let's go to geometry nodes and set up a new geometry nodes. So let's start by creating some of the things that are going to be necessary. So we know we need a pole like this, we need this step, and then the ropes. So to do that, we're just going to come in here and I start with the pole. So I'm going to go in here and add a cylinder. Okay, so we have this. Let me turn on wireframe so that we see what is going on. And like, we don't need this many vertices. We can use something like that, and we can also add the side segments like that. If I add a transform node and try scaling this in the Z direction, you can see it's scaling from the middle. So what I'm going to do is first offset this in the Z direction by 0.5, and I also make sure that the depth is 1. Now if I add another transform node, let me remove the offset. If I scale this on the Z direction, you can see it's scaling from the pivot point, which is going to be the height and exactly what we want. Let's add some noise with a set position and combine XY. Actually, you can just do normal and multiply it with a noise. So we can connect the normal directly to the position, to the offset like that. And I use a vector math with the option of scale and just scale the noise like that. Now you can add another scale just to reduce how much that is, and we can use a set smooth like that. And I'm also going to use the top selection, I think it's the side selection, just to smoothen that. Maybe we can add more segments. We have the radius. We have a way to control the height. Okay, let's give this a material. I'm going to call this wood like that. Now let me change this to shader editor for a second. I'm going to my texture folders and search for wood and use a set material. Let me call this wood. Wood this, but of course it's lacking UVs. I can just use object mapping for this, and I don't worry too much about other UVs if I don't want to. I'm just going to have to change these to box, 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 and box. I want to rotate this 90 so that that we have that. Maybe scale this. Okay, I'm just going to group this, Ctrl J, and call this pole. We come back here to the spreadsheet. We can go back to this and create a sagging curve here. Go back to the original curve, add some sag to it. So the original one has 2 points. We can add a third one and push that down. If we go to the control points, you can see we have 2. So we can add a subdivide curve to have 3 points and use a set position to push that point down. Right now we are pushing all points. So if I use an index, which is basically a selection of all the points, I can just select a single point using a compare node and equal, and the index we want is at 1, index 1, because you can see we have 3 points and they start from 0, 1, 2, and so this is 0, 1, 2. So the middle one is 1, and I can connect this to that selection, and you can see we have that. I don't like that this is creating some sort of a butterfly effect, so I can use a set curve handle type as to be, I think, vector, so that we have this linear type of thing going on. But we are also removing that curve from the bottom, so I can use the selection we have here to just affect the middle one, but it's affecting only the middle one instead of to not affect the middle one. So I can use a Boolean math with the operation not to exclude the middle point from changing the handle type. So we can add sag to the bridge. We can adjust the width Yeah, so we're going to use this arc here, this curve here, to build up on a lot of things. So I'm going to just grab this, Control G, call this main curve, and we want to be able to adjust let me use a combine XY to adjust this sag here. So I'm going to call this sagness. Now with that, we can instance these poles on those points. So I can do instance on points, and these are going to be, this curve is going to provide at the point, and the poles are going to be our instances. So we have that. Now we don't want the middle one, so we know that we have 3 points. So I can use a compare node and just do integer, connect this not equal to 1. Yes, to remove the middle point. So join these two together with a join geometry. You see what we have. I also want to be able to reposition the curve here. So I think I can come in here and just do a set position and just use a combine XY. Expose this. This parameter here as the Z position of the curve. So since this is our main curve, we don't want to offset that. The bridge is not going to start at this point. It's going to start at some point around here. So I can create another instance of this node. So just this, join it to this here, and push that up maybe somewhere here, because that's where our bridge is going to be. Now maybe let me make this wider, so something like that. This is going to be our bridge parameter, like that. I don't even need to bring the main bridge anymore, so we have that there. Now we can instance some planks on this. Let's make one or a step. So let's do a grid. We can use a grid. We can use a grid node. That looks right away. Set a material to this. Just give it the wood material. I can use. I want it to be wider. So set a value small like that. Okay. Also extrude it, just to give it some thickness, but it will have a hole at the bottom, so you need to join it to the original so that it doesn't. If you look at this, you can see how it looks. And I also set material as merge by distance to remove any doubles like that. Add in some noise to this. So if I think I can go to the pole node here and just copy all this noise setup we had, so that I don't have to do that again. So I'm just going to paste that here. And now we have this, but with noise. Of course, we're going to need a lot more subdivisions than what we have. Yeah, something like that. The textures are a bit require some editing, but we can come back to that later. So I need to be able to adjust the width of this. So I'm just going to use a transform node, and just expose the Y and X. And I'm going to group this into its own node group. Control G. I need to include the noise as well. Control G. Call this step. And like I said, we need to expose using the combine XY these two parameters, length and width. Yeah. This should be width it should be length and this width. Like that. Perfect. Okay. Let's go back to this here. We can come here and grab this curve, which should be this, yes, and change it to points, curve to points, and then instance on points. Just connect this instance like that, and if we join this again, you can see what we have. We're still able to control the height. Oh, another thing we need to expose is the sagging. Oh, it's already there, so yeah, perfect. Now, yeah, I need to make sure that these align to the curve. So I'm going to come in here and use an align. These connect the tangent and the rotation, and then this to the rotation. And I want to realign these, or realign these. I'm going to add a vector math, and just add, I think, yeah, 1.57. Since these are radians, that's going to be 90 degrees added to that. Now, if we want more points, we can just do that. But we don't want this to be at the center. You don't want this to be at the center of the bridge. I want them to be on this side. So what I'm going to do is just go to the, and actually if I try scaling the step here on the length, you can see it's scaling in the middle, and I want it to just be instance at the point, at the curve itself. So I'm going to come in here and just in the translate, I think, no, actually I need another transform node here. If we look at this, we want the pivot point to be at the end here. So I'm going to use offset this by a value of, I think, -0.5. Yeah, like that. So if we come back to this, yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I need. Okay. Another thing we could do is maybe just turn this curve into a line, into an actual mesh. So this here, let me first do this. I can use to mesh, curve to mesh option, bring in this curve, and I'm going to join this to this and remove this original one. And we need a circle, a curve circle, with a reduced radius, and a set material. Let's use the wood as well, so you can see where we are at. So it's like we have done one side of the bridge. Let's do the other. Okay, I think instead of using this, I'm just going to grab this here. Yeah, so we have that one side of the bridge, that one side of the bridge. We can use a transform node, a transform node here to duplicate. Let me just do this. Move it on the, I think on the x-axis, like that. Now, if I join this to the original, then that will give us two copies, like that. I think it's cool. Okay, and we are still able to control the sagginess, the height of the bridge and sagginess using that control. So if I join this back, let me see. we want this. Yeah, we don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. We have this, the planks. Let's see. Yeah, we have that. We can just join the particles as well. This should be on this direction. So, and I think this value should also be able to control the width of the planks and the width of the bridge. So that means that this width, this length should match the transformation we have here. So I'm just going to grab a combine XY. So connect this. So this is 3. This 3 should be the same. I can have an input or a value here. Let me just expose that as a group input. So this value should be bridge width. Connect that to this. I think I need to multiply this by a negative value. Math -1. Yeah. So with one parameter, we can control the width like that of the bridge. And I think we need to control to expose the sagginess of the main. Is it this? Is this? Yeah. Sagginess of the main rope. No. Sagginess. Perfect. You can also expose the count. Like that. So we're doing great. Okay, now we can knock out some of these. Let me actually, before we do that, we can add some random rotation to these. So I'm going to add our rotate instance. Just randomly rotate. I think it will be the X rotation. So use a random value to rotate these a bit. And I think I can also rotate them a bit on the Y direction. Not much, just a little bit. And you can also do the same for this. But we don't want the entire bridge to be falling apart, so I can use another random generator here and just use a Boolean property that should expose us a random parameter that we can adjust. One thing you will notice is that all these are detaching from one end of the rope. That's because all these points are instanced from one end of the rope. We can fix that by just instancing some of these from this rope side. Basically, have 2 instances of these. That's going to take a lot of time, and I don't want this story to be too. And another thing I could do is create some missing planks that are totally out by just adding another probability here. So that should do that. Okay. Now we have, with this knowledge, I think most of the other things are easy to do. Let me just show you how I did go through the original bridge a bit. I'll just show you how I did most of the other things. Basically the same steps that I'm doing now, but in different areas. And the project file for this bridge is going to be available if you want to explore it a little bit further. So if I go to the, let me see, where is this? I have details like knots that tie around the ropes. Yeah, here are those knots there. You can see they are the same nodes. I instance them, and so that there are 3, and tie them on each pole like that. And those nodes or those ropes there are very easy. They're just a circle. Yeah, they're just a circle instance on a mesh line. Let's see, a circle like that with a width instance on a mesh line, and with some random rotations. So if I disable this and disable this, you can see it's just a line like that, and I just add in some randomness to it, and it makes it look like a tied rope. I have 3 instances. I'm basically instancing them on a line like that goes in the z-axis, and that is connected to the pole. We have already looked at how to make a pole, and now we have 4 poles like that, which you've already seen. And the hanging rope, this hanging rope is very easy. Let me maybe show you that. So we have this rope here. If you subdivide curve a few times, as many as you want, you can add a curve object. We can add a set position and just offset this down, and we can create a selection of odd numbers. So if I connect this to the index, to the selection, and use a math node, change this to modulus, divide by 2, you can see we get that wavy effect. And I can adjust the if I have less subdivisions, you can see what we have. That gives us that wavy option. And another thing we could do is set the handle type. This here is just creating a selection. This index and modular nodes is just creating a selection of odd points. So it's keeping 1 point every time and giving it that set position. I want this to be set to vector, and we can use this selection. Actually, we need the not. So Boolean math, change this to not, and you can see that's how I added that wave. Then with that, we have the hanging ropes. They're connected to the top ropes. These standing ropes are also just where is that? I've already shown you how to make a single knot. It's just a rope that is a ring that is rotated randomly like that. I've already shown you how to make the sagging ones. Yeah, then we add in these knots here. This knot, instance it on the rope so that it creates that. Then I add these lines, then tie them together like that. Give it a material. You can see with the material it makes it seem quite realistic. Join everything else. I've already shown you how to do these, and yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Project files are in the description. This is also going to be part of the geometry nodes generators, the quick generators. If you have the quick generator add-on, you can just save it to your quick generators and reuse it as you want. Like I've already added the bridge and other things. Links are in the description.